Hey folks, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Nick Burgess. I'm the Communications Director for the City of North Liberty. And with me today is Jillian Miller, the Community Engagement Coordinator for the city. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to talk about Centennial Park today, and talking about Centennial Park is talking about North Liberty, which is a thing we also really like to talk about. It's no surprise that North Liberty has been growing, and that's part of who we are here in North Liberty. But we've been growing for so long that it sort of can kind of become background noise and kind of forget where we came from. So we wanted to start by talking a little bit about where we've been. And, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 20 years, that we added our first traffic light. Everything sort of west of Ranch Hall Way was gravel and chip seal. This is Forever Green Road from not that long ago, right? UIHC was still coming soon. And then in 2010 was the first time we officially passed 10,000 residents here in North Liberty. That same year, we bought 40 acres of ground. This is what used to be around Centennial Park. You can see North Bend there on the left side of your screen, but Centennial Park is part of that sort of green stripe in the middle. And the vision for Centennial Park was a gathering place for North Liberty, with the great lawn and a stage and a pavilion, some shelters and a walking trail. And the master plan at that time just called it West Side Park. A few years later, in our centennial year in 2013, the community got together. We planted 100 trees out there at Centennial Park. Here's one of them. And we named that park Centennial Park in honor of that milestone. Now, over the years, we've made more improvements beyond just trees that are still growing to provide additional shade out there, including play structures, right? It's this place to play. We added parking, we've added walking trails, we've added a drive, we've added more play structures, and other infrastructure out there. These are all things that are necessary to make a park, but there's really just sort of that foundation. Centennial Park has become home to community events, ones that I know some of you folks have volunteered at or attend, and you're familiar with these, right? So here's a photo from Blues and Barbecue last year, but Let Love Fly and other Mega Kite events we've held out there. Remarkable Rigs, where we invite folks to meet our public works team and climb through all their vehicles. And of course, Blues and Barbecue, which last year attracted 20,000 folks. And this year will return for our 15th year. Now, despite all of those events in line with that original vision, we've continued to hear the calls and get the emails and get pulled aside on a busy Saturday at the community center and be told, here's what you folks should do. So 4 years ago, we did a deep dive into our community identity and shared community vision. And when we pulled the community together to talk about big ideas, we weren't surprised at what we heard. We heard a demand for shared community space and to define our community identity. Last year, we spent the full year reworking our comprehensive plan and heard many of the same things, that our community wants shared community spaces and to define our community identity, just reinforcing those things that we've continued to hear over the years. Now, North Liberty is connected to what matters, and we stand on our own as a place to call home and as a destination in our own right. But we're ready for that next step. And over the last year, we've been working to refine this original master plan that was just titled West Side Park. You can see it there on the left, the 2012 master plan. We've been working to refine that based on the decade plus of experience putting on events and community engagement at that park and listening to the community to see that piece on your right. And We've been looking to refine that plan so that it is an asset that continues to enhance our community, that complements and doesn't compete with our local businesses, and that can really take North Liberty and our community's identity to the next stage. So we've built this really strong foundation. There's Centennial Park as it stands today. And we've built this really strong foundation, both as a space and through experience of putting on events out there. And we're really excited to talk a little bit today and imagine what we can do next. And I'm going to let Jillian talk about sort of what these big plans look like.
All right. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm going to talk about what we're going to do next year and walk you through the plans that you're all tuning in to hear about. And the answer really is, what are we going to achieve? Well, we're going to finish Centennial Park to create the magnetic gathering space that it's been intended to be for over 40 years now. Not 40 years, the 40 acres has been intended to be for over a decade. So I'm going to walk you through this vision. This is the 2022 revised plan for the park. And I want to start by saying that North Liberty is committed to bringing new residents to our community, but we're also really committed to making sure that our current community members continue choosing our community. Centennial Park is one of our priorities because we believe it's perfectly situational events, with exit 2 and exit 4 both being only 1.5 each from the park. It makes it easy to come in and out of. And of course, we expect this to bring some short-term visitors to our area, but ultimately, we hope that they want to convert to Johnson County long-term residents, supporting our whole county through users of our goods and services, and also as employees in jobs of all skill levels. So shared outdoor spaces are the lifeblood of a city, and anchoring the next stage plan is the Centennial Center. Highlighted there is a 13,000 square foot combined indoor event facility and outdoor stage. And it's going to be the first piece we're going to be constructing. So if you were to walk from that north pervious pavement lot right up, you'd be walking right between the two existing playgrounds to the entrance of the center here, as this rendering shows. And it will be a multi-purpose space. It's really critical for our growing community. The meeting and gym space in the existing community center is at an all-time high. If you're over there on a Saturday and all the youth sports are going on, we're limited to pancake breakfasts and craft fairs not being able to happen maybe at the frequency or of using that space because it's such at demand with youth sports. And especially in the winter months when our community is looking for more recreational activities and entertainment options, Centennial Center will open the community center's inventory up for that, as well as new events, of course, taking place inside this event center. It would be a 300-person capacity space. Those large windows that you see from floor to ceiling will make sure that we're still highlighting the great lawn space that the park has to offer. And inside the building, we'd include a catering kitchen, green room, small offices, tables, chairs, audiovisual equipment, so that a meeting organizer, an individual or business renting the space could transform it to what they need, using some of our skeleton, amenities like tables and chairs, or renting and bringing in whatever they'd like. Additionally, I want to highlight that while there'll be restrooms, of course, inside the facility, they will be separate from additional restrooms that we plan for the exterior of Centennial Center. So when there's a private event going on inside the building or the building's closed, the wall of the exterior of Centennial Center next to the rock playground would have accessible restrooms year-round for park guests. Inside this room, we foresee small concerts, business functions, guest speakers, author visits, craft fairs, and then also, of course, private rentals, weddings, reunions. And actually going back real quick, I want to note that, council's had some conversations about this already, and city council and city staff are both very committed to making sure that using this indoor space is going to be achievable for organizations and individuals coming from all different financial situations. So we do anticipate donating this space often to nonprofit organizations and having tiered pricing structures, weekends, weekdays, and some tiers within that to make sure it's affordable for the types of events people are hoping to have. So that glass wall on the other side of it is a permanent outdoor stage for the park. It is 2,700 square feet, spacing south. And if you attended Blues and Barbecue this past July, last summer, the stage was situated where this would be situated. It has a large, high arched roof, and it would be scaled to the size appropriate for the vastness of Centennial Park. And we'll host both free and ticketed events for audiences of hundreds to thousands. We have yet had any kind of ticketed or paid event in Centennial Park. Our programming has all been free. And we anticipate that to still be a huge majority of the program that happens at Centennial Park. The ticketed larger events on the stage would be few of that scale. And so we're still wanting to make sure everything's as accessible to people with cost as possible. So we have proven our ability to draw thousands to the park before. For 15 years, Blues and Barbecue has been going on. I think this will be year eight maybe, that it's been at Centennial Park. And as Nick mentioned, it's our 15th year just this July. This picture here is from 2022. You can see the stage there, again, put where this Centennial Center would be in the future. And, you know, the infrastructure that this whole plan we're outlining would provide with utilities, water access, and amenities like the stage are going to allow concerts in various sizes, outdoor concerts of various sizes, to be a regular entertainment option for Johnson County. But it won't just be music artists, whether those are local concert series or international, national touring artists. We will actually have invite the local school districts to host band or quiet concerts at the park, invite dance studios to choose Centennial Park for their recitals, and explore partnerships with Orchestra Iowa, the Angler, Paramount, other event producers to use our stage as a place to do community engagement. We'll continue collaborations with our circus partners we've brought into the park a few different times, and other diverse performers. Now, our Convention and Visitors Bureau here for Johnson County, titled Think Iowa City, we've shared all these plans with them. They've been involved in some fundraising thus far, and through their tools, they conservatively estimate that Centennial Park's year-round programming could inject as much as $11.5 million into Johnson County each year. And with a lot of our programming being free, these positive impacts are going to be felt by hotels and local businesses, restaurants, and shops. All right, so that was a Centennial Center, again, the heart of the park, and the first thing we'll construct. And now I want to move adjacent to that, the pavilion. This is going to offer 5,000 square feet of really necessary shade and flexible programming space. You could see some expansive plaza around the pavilion, and it would be, for those that have been to Blues and Barbecue, where you would have seen basically the large tent that we have the beverages or pig and pine under in the past. And you can easily imagine how those types of uses for festivals, shade and beverage garden hangout spaces would be used with this pavilion. But we also imagine farmers markets, family reunions, graduation parties, business networking events to be under the pavilion. We believe this pavilion design will stand on its own to do things like I just mentioned, or with our seasonal ice rink. We have, for the past 6 years, put one temporarily during the winter season on the Penn Meadows Park tennis courts. That's gone really well. We have free skates for checkout at the community center. But the tennis court is not an ideal location to be putting this up with some surface level issues, and without a roof to cover from the elements, the ice is difficult for the parks to maintain a smooth surface. So the pavilion will be a year-round amenity by relocating our temporary ice rink to the pavilion to provide winter recreation. But the pavilion will also complement the Centennial Center that it's right next to very well. A ceremony, for example, for a wedding could take place out of the pavilion and then move to a reception inside the Centennial Center. And so we see meeting organizers to see the value in that outdoor-indoor mixed use space. Okay, moving to the west side of the park, around the pond that currently exists there, we will be enhancing it with an honor garden. So here is the image of where we are today. And that green space is really going to be transformed with some vibrant landscaping. We're going to create a quiet reprieve, a small event space with a shelter, and the space will pay tribute to Iowa's servicemen and women. Also on the west side of the park, which I think all of our residents are familiar with by now, is our rock playground. That's not going anywhere. It's actually one of the early improvements the city put in 2018, and it will remain as it was always part of this master plan. Over the years, these past 5 years, these 10 large boulders have provided tens of thousands of children entertainment, popular every day, but also especially during those larger events. These rock formations tie into nature themes throughout the park, as does the bioswale. That prairie grass that goes throughout the park is actually the state's largest bioswale for stormwater management. And so just the themes of sustainability, nature, and water quality will be carried throughout all the design. Okay, and then just moving to the east side of the park, we're dubbing this corner our play yard. So you're probably familiar with the existing elementary and toddlers play structures that exist. But we know there's a need for more. We have one outdoor pool right now in our community that's frequently at capacity, and we have one splash pad currently at Meadows Park. But through all the calls and the emails, the social media comments, visioning process, and comprehensive planning, we know that Johnson County needs more places to cool off in the summer. And it's not just our young community that needs this. It really is countywide, with a lot of our neighboring cities not having those amenities of their own and turning to North Liberty for those water play options. So we're going to be adding a premier splash pad next to those existing playgrounds, as well as a small shelter and restrooms on the east side of the park. So this rendering of the splash pad is just south of those current play structures, with the small shelter in the middle, so that parents could sit under the shade and be able to see children playing at either the play structures or the splash pad. It's a 5,000 square foot splash pad on it. And also it currently designed has some LED features at night. And so the other side of that shelter has our existing units. And they are also very popular and well suited for the community. But since we'll be doing construction in that play yard corner with the splash pad and shelter and more paved areas, our parks director will also be adding wheelchair accessible play features to the park. This would be, I believe, just west of the current toddler playground. And these 3 units are what the parks director has actually emailed and said these are the ones I'm going to get. So this is pretty much what you'll see there. So obviously children are going to find the park more accessible, both with water play at a level splash pad, but also with these wheelchair accessible options. But it's not just going to be the children that find the park more accessible. New paths throughout the park are going to increase accessibility for all. In the areas you see highlighted here are new pathways, many of them which are 20 feet wide. We've been executing events in this park for over a decade. And in those big traffic events, we know that where people need to move and where they need to be able to put wheels on. And so these were strategically put to meet those needs, as well as just all that plaza space in the center. So we're really excited about adding these things, and let people thoroughly enjoy our programs. After reading it once, I love to say that a difference between a livable city and a lovable city are the small traditions and artwork, community spaces, and annual events that create city fanatics. And we believe that Centennial Park will be the show-stopping location that people are going to rave about when they talk about North Liberty, when they talk about Johnson County, whether they just visited and go back and say, guess where I was this weekend, or it's a resident bragging to their friends about what their community has. When all of what we've just outlined is complete, this is going to be the place for concerts, weddings, business gatherings, outdoor movies, craft fairs, festivals, and maybe even RAGBRAI overnights. But it really takes a shared enthusiasm across the entire community. And so we're glad you're tuning in to this info session to learn more about it, to become hopefully an advocate for the project, and to be more knowledgeable when you hear your neighbors or friends or colleagues saying, hey, did you see that article in the paper, or what's coming to Centennial Park, that you could kind of understand our vision. But it's not just enthusiasm that carries us all the way. We know that not everyone will have the means to donate, but we are asking for community donations. We've officially launched a capital campaign for $1 million in community support for this project. And that's the goal for our residents, businesses, individuals of Johnson County giving towards this project. And we've done that before. We've done about $1 million 3 different times for the community center, most recently in 2013, and before that in 2002. And we know that our community is even larger now. We know that they've called for the community spaces and features like this. So we're partnering with the Community Foundation of Johnson County and have an established fund set up there now. And we're asking for folks to do a one-time donation or pledge, that through their website or through, we have information on how to do that on our webpage too. And whether that's a one-time donation of $100, $50, or say, yeah, I can pledge $1,000 over the next 3 years. Knowing what people are able and excited to give helps us with our planning process. And we hope to have all of that fundraising done by the end of 2025. But we do expect to see what we just outlined in front of you partially done by then too. The timeline for this project would be that the Centennial Center is right now, Centennial Center and Outdoor Stage is the priority. And we hope to have that by summer of 2025 for our Blues and Barbecue Festival. So 2.5 years from now. But all the elements we hope to do as soon as possible. And that there's a lot of moving parts as to when it can all be dug up at once, or if there has to be 2 or 3 phases. But this is a commitment from our community. As Nick mentioned, we've been working on this with a master plan since 2012. And council is excited to move forward.
This is a project that we expect to cost about $16 million total. And we're more than halfway there. So the city has committed some ARPA dollars and some local dollars that we invest in our parks annually towards this project, as well as funding from state and federal grants, as well as some naming right opportunities. Naming the Centennial Center, naming the pavilion, really to make up all of that total. So as I said, we're more than halfway there, and would love you to help us get further. You can go to northlibertyiowa.org/nextstage, and there's a ton of there's more images, pictures. This will be back up there too, but you can also go there to make a commitment or to give through the Community Foundation, and those are committed to this project and eligible for tax deduction. Did you have anything else you want to add before we go to questions?
I think that was it.
Oh, great. So we've got a question from Amanda who says, will construction start before blues and barbecue? That's a great question, Amanda. No. So we are in the design phase to actually to engineer this project now, and hope to have that done by the end of the year. It would probably impact Blues and Barbecue 2024. And we would expect to have to either adjust the event or take a year off. But we would expect it to be back and be back better than ever in 2025, that July. One of the questions that we often get is about parking. Obviously, the project adds some additional parking, but our expectation isn't that this is a full-fledged concert venue. Obviously, we're really focused on community pieces here. And so we know that the current parking can accommodate events of the size that would fit inside the center, but it does add some additional parking around the perimeter of the park. While preserving much of that great lawn. As you know, if you've been to Blues and Barbecue, when we do have those big events, we do use parking on the grass. Again, that's sort of the high watermark for what we'd expect to see at this park. This isn't a venue that would be having Blues and Barbecue scale events Friday and Saturday night every night of the summer, or anything like that, but we know that it can accommodate a variety of community gatherings and event spaces.
Another question we've gotten that ties really closely with that is the hours of the park. You know, is this going to be late nights often? And no, you know, certainly weddings would go beyond normal park 10 p.m. hours, potentially could go a little later than that inside. But as far as outdoor things on the stage or in the pavilion, we would have those policies in place to make sure that we're not going beyond 10:30 as we do with Blues and Barbecue.
Any other questions from folks in the audience? If they occur to you at a later date, you can email Jillian, me, and the rest of the team at nextstage@northlibertyiowa.org. Emma asks, did similar spaces in other cities inform influential plans? Is there anything like this in Iowa? That's a great question. We know that this is unique to Johnson County. We certainly looked at other amphitheaters and venues that other communities had, so that we could, as a reference point, both for style and for function. We've certainly talked with some of our local municipalities that have smaller spaces about how they operate their facilities. But this really is a unique asset for North Liberty and for Johnson County. And we're really excited about this being able to empower our team to put on more community events of a variety of scales, as well as other organizations being able to come to town and movie on the lawn, or small orchestra concerts, or really to empower some of those events that are currently really hard to accommodate at the community center, whether that's, you know, a pancake breakfast or a chili supper, or an author visit, particularly in those winter months. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. You can find all the information about this project at northlibertyiowa.org/nextstage. You can go there to give or pledge. If you've got questions or comments, nextstage@northlibertyiowa.org will get you to the team, and we'll happily answer your questions and talk you through more. We hope you're excited, and we hope you're sharing that excitement with the folks that you know, and get them excited too. So thank you so very much for joining us, and we look to chatting again soon.